Привет, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I believe this is our 45th episode, I think. Well, thank you for letting us go on for 45 episodes. So it all started when I guess I was on Katie Halper's show and I asked people, why don't you guys read Lenin? Because somebody must have asked a dumb question. And they were like, we need you to read it to us. And so it began. I'm like, okay, fine. I will read you, Lenin. I just want you to stop. I just wanted to improve people. Questions to me, I guess. Let's see what's going on. Oh, I was able to, I guess, emotionally manipulate my Russian teacher into recording one little like a Lenin story for me every day. Because we were reading this piece about this really good guy named Victor. And apparently because his secretary really liked white roses, he brought her like one white rose every day because he was just a good person. And I'm like, oh my God. Like if I were the secretary, I would totally love for somebody to record one Lenin piece for me in Russian every day. And then he's been doing that for the past like week or so. So I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. So that's yeah, that's all I have. And when we read about Lenin, a lot of what Lenin does is he trolls like really bad newspapers of his time, like the New York Times, whenever they have really bad propaganda. So it would be un-Lenin-esque for us not to do that. So this week, Janet's got the screenshot of New York Times propaganda. Okay. Signs of in Kazakhstan's street battles. Signs of elites fighting each other. While come down a little bit, you'll see that protesters clash with security forces. Protesters. And if you've seen any of the videos, they're protesting by, I guess, beheading people. They're protesting. They're protesting by like burning down building hospitals. Like it's just weird to call them protesters. And then they're like framing it as some nefarious Putin's plot. So what it does look like was that the fuel price, like, and Kazakhstan for like the longest time, they had this like really they had this US puppet guy, Nazarbayev, who like literally agreed to privatize everything. And it was their, like, Clinton's wet dream came true. So it was kind of weird that suddenly Kazakhstan government became pro-Russian authoritarian. And at first I was kind of skeptical and I didn't think the US was behind it because it wouldn't make sense for the US to be behind it because Kazakhstan's obviously going to call Russia and China or both or Iran, all three of which they have like a mutual defense treaty with. but it more and more the evidence does seem like there was one legitimate protest for a few days, and then came the, I guess, Kazakh ISIS, whatever, and started doing Maidan style violence in Almaty. So there's and it does definitely look. I mean, so the U.S. has picked their own Guaido from who's a embezzler from who's now in Paris. He used to be in the Netherlands. And of course, the NED has been sponsoring democracy promotion in Kazakhstan, and the thing is that they kind of my guess is maybe they know they can't do much in Xinjiang in China, so maybe they moved to Kazakh. I don't know, but I yeah, like I just don't know. And then last week, I guess I was having my periods because I was so exhausted that I couldn't come live. Oh, sorry if this is TMI. But there is an important Harry Reid video we need to show so that we can figure out where he is in the afterlife.
You know, the United States has frozen $33 billion in Libyan assets, Gaddafi's money basically, here in the United States. U.S. taxpayers so far have spent about $600 to $700 million launching Tomahawk cruise missiles, fighting the Gaddafi forces on behalf of the rebels, if you will. Should the U.S. keep a running tab of how much it's costing American taxpayers to liberate Libya and deduct whatever it costs from that $33 billion? So would you be open to that?
Not only the United States should do this, NATO should do it, France should do it, the countries that are involved there on the ground and in the air.
Yes,
you know, I
have
for a long time advocated, and it's been lost in the shuffle, that the wealth of Iraq, and it's a wealthy country, they should, with their oil resources, be paying us back for what we've done. Well, I've tried. What people don't realize is Iraq is still making a lot of money, and we should get part of it.
Oh my God. That's like exactly what Neera Tanden said about how we should bomb Libya and make them pay for. I mean, this is exactly what Trump said. How is this different? Like, and how is this acceptable? And look at what kind of framing Wolf Blitzer like asks. It's just embarrassing. I'm gonna try to find this video where Rand Paul it talks about how he wants to end the war in Yemen, and Wolf Blitzer literally asks, "What about the defense contractors?" And I kid you not, he did do that. Like, I swear. But he is so cringe. But and Harry, like, so anyone who wants to do a hagiography or who want to be like, Harry Reid was one of the good progressive Democrats, just remember this clip. And how disgusting is it? Liberating Libya from, I guess, what did they liberate Libya from? Because they brought back slavery in Libya. Yeah, terrible. Is there anything else that we have to talk about? Or did we get all the things that we were going to talk about before we play Sal from the Red Army?
I think we're good.
Okay. In that case, I'll be back after we finish with chapter 3. I forgot. How do you say this word, Jenna? Can you just please teach me how to say this word? The first word?
Nadezhda reminisces.
Reminisces. Okay, thank you. Reminisces. Thank you. Reminisces of Lenin. Okay. We'll start with chapter 3. So, Geneva. So, welcome back, Sal. We had her here a few months ago, and we're going to have her be the guest until we finish this book or pamphlet or whatever this piece is, mostly because I think people don't actually understand like the logistics of agrarian development, as in, why is it that 100 years ago your grandpa had, like, everyone had to have little tiny farms, and why is it that now we live in cities? Like, they just don't understand that. So this is why I think this is really important. What do you think, Sal?
Yeah, I think understanding the reason for the separation between the city and like the countryside is really important. And as communists, I feel like we want to bridge those back together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's important to look at.
Well, and another thing is that it leaves Americans to the worst kind of incomprehension about like the third world. Like, they don't understand that you just can't magic tractors into existence. Like, if you don't have a factory, you can't magic it. Like, you have to have somebody build a factory, and you have to have the plans, and it's not like, you're not going to, I guess, there, you can't have a separate eureka like, the factory was not built on a eureka moment, but like from centuries of like improving the process by millions of people, that it can't spontaneously happen like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But because they believe in the myth of the individual inventor, like, they don't understand that. And then they're like, oh, Africans are backwards for not having, for having their factories bombed by the US, but that's another story.
So many layers.
Yeah. And then you're like, no. The reason is because they are deindustrialized on purpose. And when you look at the logistics of a mine, you realize, oh, this cobalt mine has no roads in and out. And it takes like, there's like one bus that comes like once every 3 weeks to take them somewhere, and it's really expensive, and there are no schools nearby, and and then you understand, oh, the reason why they can pay them like so little is because it's literally like a prison.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've seen some of those mines that you're talking about. Yeah.
In real life?
No, not like, just like documentaries and stuff.
Oh, okay. And if you look at like any communist country before communism, there was that captive population. Like, I think the legend has it that in Russia, like, Nicholas the First, basically, like, some mining company needed a train, and he just took a ruler and like just went whoosh, and so they just built the train there. So sometimes the train would say, oh, like, we're getting off on Yaroslav, but it was actually like 30 kilometers away from Yaroslav. But when there are no cars, that's like a long journey to Yaroslav from the train stop, and you have to like get a horse carriage somehow, like. And that was there all over, and that you can still see that phenomenon all over Africa, where you have like trains from the Kimberley diamond mines to the sea, but nothing else, and things like that. So it just helps to think about these logistics at it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been ranting. So any comments that you have?
Yeah, I think that, in the when we industrialized, like, it changed how we do everything, it changed every aspect of our lives. And it was supposed to make things easier on the workers, but I don't know if it did.
Well, it did in, say, Vietnam, China, Cuba, but not here.
Yeah.
Because they just moved the workers in to like, they just used the extra workers that didn't need to be in farming for other kinds of labor. So under capitalism, they just sucked up the more profit. But yes, if implemented properly, it would make it easier on the workers.
Yeah. It would.
Today, like, it always breaks my heart. So there's, I guess, some kind of violent incident going on in Kazakhstan. I'm not yet comfortable enough to call it a color revolution or a coup or whatever. But basically, these protesters like took over the airport and burned down houses and burned down the presidential palace. Like just like, anyways. So then I was like reading the history from like the 1992 archives, and it always breaks my heart. And then you're like, okay, so the Soviet Union falls. 9 months later, Kazakhstan is an opium den where like it's like the Asia's drug clearinghouse. And I'm like, capitalism. And then you see another article about how there's all these child prostitution in Kazakhstan. And I'm like, dark. And then you're like, oh, Chevron gets to loot everything. And it just like, oh, it's heartbreaking.
It really is heartbreaking.
Those are the worst. Like, and then I'm like, oh.
If you really want to get like super sad, you can just read like time capsules from like the USSR.
No. I don't.
Like I was fucking crying.
I don't know. I was crying like because the child prostitution story kind of made me cry. So I had to stop reading, like literally reading New York Times from 1992 with any former communist country till about 2000 will break your heart. Like you'll see, anyway, just reading New York Times. No. And then you're like, I got so mad. And like, so, and then I realized that Clinton like helped like Chevron just loot all their, and I'm like, I was so mad. It gave me just like another excuse. Like it just makes you madder and madder because you realize how evil they are.
They are evil. They're fucking evil. Capitalism makes you, yeah. It makes you evil.
So disgusting. I mean, the drug part was like, oh, interesting. And then suddenly you got radical like Wahhabism, and I wonder if they're connected to all and of course they are. Anyways,
where are we at?
Further ado, okay. So today, I guess. Oh my God! I forgot about this one. So yesterday, did I tell you about young Stalin?
No.
Okay, so the author of Young Stalin like made up this crap that apparently Stalin had a sexual affair with like a 13-year-old.
Oh God, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, completely made up. I've made a TikTok where I explain how he explains he totally made it up because it's like there was no record. Of course, a Soviet official in Siberia is too afraid of Stalin to record it like in the middle of whatever, like everything, and the memoir, like anything he cites does not actually say this. Guess what? The author, I found him in Jeffrey Epstein's black book.
No. Yes. What?
Yeah. I'm like, projection.
Dude.
100% you are projecting.
Oh, shit. That's so spicy.
Would call today a pedo or groomer. In the book Young Stalin by Simon Sebeck.
For no good reason, looking through Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs and his black book, and guess who I found on page 54?
Simon Sebeck.
We know no details of how this developed. Apparently it came from Lydia's memoirs taken 20 years later in 1934. And it says, in his spare time, Stalin liked to go evening dances. He could be very jolly too. He loved to sing and dance, especially this song, I'm Guarding the Gold. He often enjoyed birthday dinners. Well, the author goes on to guess, but the official who recorded her reminiscences would not have dared to record the seduction. In other words, there's no evidence for it, and he made it up. Probably projection, since we do know that he was in Jeffrey Epstein's black book. Okay. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin the piece.
The prosperity of advanced modern small farms, the Baden example. Details, cries Mr.
Hold on. Okay, so in chapters 5 through 9 of the magazine Образование, the following notes were published by Bulgakov. The essays were written in 1901. The first part was published in a pamphlet last year, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay. Not important. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Details, cries Mr. Bulgakov in Nachalo. And this slogan is repeated 100 times in 100 different sharps and flats by all the critics. I love this idea,
like sharps and flats, like a piano almost.
Yeah. Very well, gentlemen. Let us examine the details. Lenin is it just makes you interested, like I'm hooked already.
I love the description written in 100 of different sharps and flats, like kind of like, how like, is China curing too much cancer? That kind of thing is written in 100 different sharps and flats. It's like the same thing, but just like a little sharp, flat piano key. Yeah.
In all different tones, we hear it. It was utterly absurd of you to direct this slogan at Kautsky, since the principal task of a scientific study of the agrarian question, which is encumbered with a countless number of disconnected details, was to present a general picture of the whole of modern agrarian system in its development.
By the way, this is the surprise for you, I guess. This is the one of the few times that he's actually defending Kautsky and not like him like a cow that chews on cudde or something. No. Like he said, no. I'm not joking. Like, he literally says that Kautsky sounds like he had been chewing on and spit it out all night long. Like what I'm talking about in proletarian revolution and the renegade Kautsky.
That's hilarious. I haven't heard that one, but
okay. It's in the first chapter. He says that this sounds like Kautsky has been chewing on his rags. Like this sounds like he was like chewing on this paper and spit it out.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, where am I at? Your slogan merely concealed your lack of scientific principle and your opportunistic dread of any integral and well thought out philosophy. Had you not read Kautsky's book in the manner of Voroshilov, you would have been able to derive from it a great deal of information on handling and assimilating detailed statistics, and that you are unable to operate with detailed statistics, we shall now demonstrate by a number of examples chosen by yourselves.
Ooh.
Going to use their own words against them. You'll love to see it.
Beautiful. And I've actually become a better writer and a debugger, like, because of this. Like, I'm like, you kind of.
That's a lot of the time that they like spend, like, they debunk a lot of stuff. That's what they do. They will subtweet people. I just think it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like when you read this, like it improves your own, like, I can't ever, I guess, read a Washington Post article without like giving it the side eye.
For real.
Like, it's always like, okay, come on. Don't be insulting to us.
The reader, yeah, honestly. In his article entitled Peasant Barbarians, directed against Kautsky and published in the magazine of the Voroshilovs Socialist Monatschrift, Edward David triumphantly refers to one of the most thorough and interesting monographs on peasant farming that have appeared recently, namely that of Moritz Hecht, entitled Dreidorfer der Badischen Hard, the three villages of the Hard of Bottom. Hertz clutched at this reference and, following David, cited some figures from the excellent work and strongly recommended the reading of the original of or of the passage given by David Chernov in
Ruskaya Bogatsovo, Russian wealth.
Ruskoye Bogatsovo.
Yeah, but that's Russian wealth. It's like the most pretentious magazine ever.
Hastened to repeat both David and Hertz and contrasted Tukhotky's statement, hetched striking pictures of the prosperity of advanced modern small farms. Let us turn to Hetch. Hetch describes 3 Baden villages located at distances ranging from 4 to 14 kilometers from Karlsruhe, Hagsfeld, Blankenloch, and Friedrichsthal.
Okay, yeah, Baden is some region in Germany, and he's describing 3 regions, 3 cities in Germany, and like with like some way to, I guess, discredit quote unquote Marx.
Although the farms are small, from one of the 3 hectares, hectare, is that how you say it?
Hectares.
Hectares. The peasants led a prosperous and cultured life and gathered.
Wait. Oh. Is he quoting Hertz here?
No.
No.
He's just describing it right now.
Heck describes 3 Baden Hagsfeld. Although David compares this yield with the no. Okay, I see. Got it. I think he is describing them.
Okay. The peasants led a oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think Lenin is paraphrasing them.
Okay. They led a prosperous and cultured life, gathered exceptionally large yield from their land. David, followed by Chernov, compares this yield with an average yield for the whole of Germany in double centers. Centers?
Yeah, that's a typo.
Okay, centers per hectare. Potatoes 150 to 160 and 87.8. Rye and wheat 20 to 30 or 20 to 23.
Yeah, and I'll make a chart to like. Yeah, I'll make a chart. So yeah.
Hay 50 to 60 and 28.6, and exclaims, what do you think of that as an example of backward small peasants? And in the first place we reply, insofar as no comparison is made between small and large scale farming conducted under the same conditions, it is absurd to view this as an argument against Kautsky. Mr. Chernov appears even more absurd when he asserts in Ruskoye Bogatstvo that Kautsky's rudimentary view regarding the agronomic exploitation of the village by the town even exaggerates the shady aspects of capitalism. And when he cites on page 209 of the same issue as an argument against Kautsky, an instance in which this capitalist obstacle to the progress of agriculture is eliminated by the fact that the villages he selects are situated in proximity to towns, while the overwhelming majority of agricultural population lose an enormous quantity of natural fertilizers as a result of depopulation of the rural districts by capitalism and the concentration of the population in these cities, an insignificant minority of suburban peasants obtain special benefits from their situation and become rich at the expense of the impoverishment of the masses. It is not surprising that the yield in the villages described is so high, considering that they spend a sum of 41,000 marks annually on manure from the army stables in 3 neighboring garrison towns.
Because the army is right there. These okay. I see. I will have to put up the. I get it, and that's why only these 3 villages are prosperous and nothing else.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And on liquid refuse from the urban drainage system, artificial fertilizers are purchased only to the amount of 7,000 marks annually. To attempt to refute the technical superiority of large-scale over small-scale farming by adducing instances of small farms operating under such conditions means merely to expose one's impotence. Bam, got him.
Yeah.
Secondly, to what extent do these instances really represent genuine small peasants? Ich und Recht Kleinbaum.
Okay. He always okay. Can you just put it on Google Translate? Because
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
wait, actually, Ben, what does it? Okay, I'll ask my brother-in-law. Let me just
Real and right small farmers,
Oh, okay, got it.
as David says, and as Hertz and Chernov repeated after him. Real and right small farmers, huh?
Mhm.
They mention only the area of the farm, and in this way prove only their inability to handle detailed statistics. As everyone knows, a hectare of land is to a suburban peasant what 10 hectares are to a peasant living in a remote district. Moreover, the very type of farms undergoes radical change because of the proximity to towns. Thus, the price of land in Friedrichsthal and the village which has the least land, but which has the most prosperous of the suburban villages, range from 9,000 to 10,000 marks, lives 5 times the average price of the land in Baden, and about 20 times the price in remote districts in East Prussia. Consequently, judged by the size of output, the only exact index of the small size of the size of the farm, these are by no means small peasants. In regards to the type of farming, we see here a remarkably high stage of development of money economy and the specialization of agriculture, which is particularly emphasized by Hecht. They cultivate tobacco at 45 cents of the area under cultivation in Friedrichsthal. And high grades of potatoes using partly
so it's okay. I see. They're not growing it for food. I kind of lost where you were in this, but it's okay. But I understand what's going on. So they're basically like industrial. It's like industrial because they're just like going to sell everything, right? Like they're not making any food for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, because he's saying these potatoes are used for food, and they're used for seed, and the gentry.
I actually totally lost it. So can you read that part?
Yeah, hold on. People of good social position. Okay, yeah, he's saying that these potatoes, they cultivate tobacco and high grade potatoes used partly for seed and partly for the table of the gentry. Just like
for the
richer people. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sell milk, butter, suckling pigs and grown pigs to the capital, and themselves buy grain and hay. Agriculture here has assumed a completely commercial characteristic.
Yeah. Okay. So the peasants, while they're okay, I see. So they're like, okay, got it. They're not keep growing anything from themselves. They're just like growing everything for the capitalist class.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. The peasant who conducts his farm in the neighborhood of the capital is the purest type of petty bourgeois. So that had Mr. Chernov really familiarized himself with the details he borrows from others, he might have acquired some understanding of this category of petty bourgeois peasant, which is to him so mysterious.
Ruskaya Bagatsavo number 7.
It is most curious that both Hearst and Mr. Chernov, while declaring that they are totally unable to understand how the peasant fulfills and the functions of the entrepreneur, how he is able to figure as a worker at one moment and as an entrepreneur at the other, refer to the detailed investigation of how an author who says bluntly, the peasant of the 18th century with his 8 to 10 hectares of land was a peasant, Mr. Chernov, and a manual laborer, the dwarf peasant of the 19th century, with his 1 or 2 hectares of land, is a brain worker, the entrepreneur, and a merchant. I mean, they still say that kind of shit today.
Yeah, no. But none of this is true. Like, if he is the brain worker and the entrepreneur, he is totally not like digging, sowing and reaping and milking cows. But yeah, they do say this stuff all the time too. Like, any Republican is like, people who like, it's like a fantasy that it's like their fantasy
like a meritocracy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they want to believe that these peasants are like milking their own, like these rural rich people are milking their own cows and not having like slaves.
Do you mind if I cut in right now?
Go ahead.
Did you hear what Eric Adams, was he the new mayor of New York?
Yes.
Yeah,
I heard it, but why don't you describe it so that for people who aren't familiar?
Well, he was saying basically just coming down on unskilled workers.
Oh God. Yes.
Oh God.
All that stuff. I can play the little video here.
Yeah, please do.
So do you guys want to see it now, or do you just?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it was just.
This reminds me too, like I think it was one of those driving apps or whatever. They said that they were going to make everybody in the company do a delivery, like a food delivery, and they fucking lost their minds. Like they lost it. Like that for us. I just thought it was funny because, like, you know, it's like the thing we're talking about. Like they're actually doing the deliveries themselves. Like, no, they're not. They're not doing any of that. You know.
If my businesses are sharing with their employees, you are part of the ecosystem of this city. My low-skilled workers, my cooks, my dishwashers, my shoe shine people, those who work in Dunkin' Donuts, they don't have the academic skills to sit in a corner office. They need this.
Fuck.
We are in this together.
No, they are not related enough to the King of England in order to sit in a corner office. It really depends. Even today, it depends on how close you are to the King of England.
Of this my low-skilled workers, my cooks, my dishwashers, my messengers, my
I just want to say there's a quote from Lenin.
They don't have the academic.
And Lenin says, every cook should be able to lead the revolution.
Yeah, he does. He literally says that. Like, every cook will be a revolutionary, and because
that fucking attitude right there, that fucking asshole's attitude.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna have to have Len tweet out about cooks and yes. I thank you for reminding me. I'm gonna let Lenin tweets. But yeah, Lenin says that, like, basically we need to, like, make the proletariat so advanced that any cook, not every cook, he says any cook,
any
lead
person.
The revolution, because it's like really not, that's being in government is nothing but like barking orders at people, so you can actually like make changes happen. It's not like that's like, you don't do the logistic, you're just barking orders. Like, you can do whatever it's like, okay, come on. And that's what people don't understand is whenever your president chooses not to bark orders, he's not using his power to help you.
Fuck Joe Biden.
And Eric Adams. He sounds like worse than a right winger. Like he sounds
terrible.
He sounds like Ben Carson, like, but only worse.
Okay, where was I? I was at right here. Have not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I've totally lost where I'm just listening because I've totally lost my place in the reading, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, have not Hertz and Mr. Chernov annihilated Kotsky in the Voroshilov manner for confusing the peasant with the entrepreneur? The clearest indication of the entrepreneur is his employment of wage labor. Mm-hmm. It is highly characteristic that not one of the quasi-socialists who referred to Hecht's work uttered a single word about that fact. Hecht, a most typical Kleinberger of the ultra-loyal type who...
Kleinberger means little landowner.
Oh. Of the ultra-loyal type who waxes enthusiastic waxes enthusiastic over the piety of the peasants and the paternal solitude shown.
Wait. It's not. And
Solicitude?
the paternal care. Solicitude. Yeah, not solitude.
Solicitude. Okay. Yeah. Paternal solicitude.
Is there like a typo on the site, or?
There's all sorts of typos in here, so I gotta like figure out whether it's a real word or not.
no. The Russian, yeah, it's like he said the Russian papetilenastyu, which is like care, guardianship.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
shown them by the Grand Duchy officials in general, and over their adoption of such important measures as, in particular, the establishment of cookery schools, naturally ties to obscure those facts and show that no social gulf separates the rich from the poor.
Wait. Culinary courses. That's really funny. The important culinary.
Right.
Didn't Derek Adams talk about cooks being low-skilled workers?
Yeah, he did. He did say that. He said cooks are low-skilled.
No, but it's actually really hard to. Oh man,
it is hard to cook. Yeah,
no. I thought you had to go. I thought you had to go to like culinary school.
You do.
Okay, so there.
And I guarantee you, like, if you put him up on like a line cook's like thing and you tell him, hey, we need you to do this right now. It's not skilled, so you should be able to do it, right? He will flail. He will fail. Every time he will fail. Everything will be burned.
Yeah.
I just think it's ridiculous.
Okay, I knew that he kind of. Okay, I don't know why the word cook school, culinary school, or cookery school, just triggered something in me.
Okay, where is that? No agricultural day labor category exists, writes Heck. The majority of the peasants are able to cultivate their land themselves and with the help of their families. Only a few in those 3 villages experience the need for outside help during the harvest or at threshing times. Such family request Baden to employ the local expression, certain men or women.
Famous men or women.
Okay.
No. It's a translation problem. Go ahead.
Who would never dream of calling themselves day laborers to help them out. There is nothing surprising in the fact that only a few farmers in that 3 villages mentioned hired day laborers because many farmers, as we shall see, are factory workers. What proportion of pure farmers employ hired labor, Heck does not say. He prefers to pack his candidate's thesis. The German calls it a doctoral dissertation. Stop. Which is devoted only to 3 villages, of one of which he is a native. Not.
So he's making fun of the thesis.
He's saying that it's small, and he's fucking got his hand in it, right? Yeah, you can't do that.
And I love it how he's like, and the German calls this a doctoral dissertation. The Germans call it doctoral. He pack it. Okay.
Not with exact statistics concerning the various categories of peasants, but with reflections on the high moral significance of diligence and thrift. Oh, fuck. So he's just basically like protecting his own, like, fucking city. All his family. Yeah. Okay. So this fucking clearly makes sense as to his motivations. All we learn is that the wages of day laborers are lowest in the most prosperous and purely agricultural village, Friedrichsthal, which is farthest away from Karlsruhe. In Friedrichsthal, the day laborers get 2 marks a day, paying for his own keep, while Ragsfeld, 4 kilometers from Karlsruhe, and in inhabited by factory workers, the wages of day laborers are 3 marks a day. Such is one of the conditions of the prosperity of the real small peasants.
Wait a minute, because they're paying the day laborer only 2 marks. So they're screwing, like they're underpaying, right?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
In those 3 villages, Hecht informs us, purely patriarchal relations still exist between the master and their servant. Yeah, slave. Just Indian German means both domestic servant and farm labor.
Okay, so he really, okay, that's funny. So okay.
The master, i.e. the peasant with 3 or 4 hectares of land, addresses his men and women laborers as thou and calls them by their forenames. They call the peasants uncle, Vetter, and the peasant's wife, auntie.
Oh, so
they're family.
Oh, no. The laborers are... Wait, so basically the laborers call it's kind of like Galdaka.
Okay, so wait, the laborers eat at the family table and are regarded as members of the family.
That's
great.
false.
So we have that shit today. Like, we're all a happy family. You guys don't need a union.
You don't have, no. These are not family. These are like, just because you don't have slave quarters doesn't make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So that's not great.
So basically the day laborers we don't have slave quarters, and we don't like make them eat like outside or something.
That's nice. No.
Yeah.
But they pay them two
Marks.
Instead of 3 too,
Yeah.
right? Like, so they're fucking these workers just big time in Oh my God. Okay. Our most thorough, Hecht says, nothing about the extent to which hired labor is employed in tobacco growing, which is so widely developed that the district and...
No. Okay, by the way, they mistranslated it. They don't call them thou. Thou is the... okay, hold on. Oh my God. Oh, sorry. Okay, this is... okay. I'm gonna say, okay. Батрака и батрачку называют их просто по имени, а они называют крестьянц. Okay. So so instead of calling them like Mr. Diesel, they call them Ben, and but then the laborers call their bosses Dia, which means uncle, and Tietkoi, which means auntie, and call them you, not thou. Okay, sorry, I'm being pedantic. Okay, and I feel like I'm bragging now. Okay, I'll stop.
Okay, where was that?
We're at and about our most thorough, thorough Hecht says nothing about the higher growing tobacco,
which is so widely developed in that district and which requires a particularly large number of laborers. But since he has said at least something about the wage labor, even this very loyal little bourgeois must be regarded as being much better able to handle than the details of the research of Voroshilov's of critical socialism. Thirdly, Hecht's research was used to refute the fact that the peasantry suffers from overwork and undernourishment. But here it turns...
Go ahead.
But here it turns out that the critics preferred to ignore facts of the kind mentioned by Hecht. They cleverly utilized the conception of the middle peasant by means of which both the Russian Narodniks and the Western European bourgeois economists so extensively idealized the peasantry.
Oh my God, kind of like the middle class families, like
yes.
Where they take the average, and then so none of these people actually exist, so they're just like taking averages.
Oh my God.
Yeah, nothing ever changes. Okay.
It's like literally all the fucking same. Ah!
Yeah.
Speaking generally of the peasants in the three villages mentioned are very prosperous, but even from Heck's far from thorough monograph, it is apparent that in this respect, the peasants must be divided into three large groups. About 1/4 or 30% of the farmers, the majority in Friedrichsthal and a few in Blackenloch, are prosperous petty bourgeois who have grown rich as a result of living in the vicinity of the capital. They engage in
in exchange for money, basically.
Okay. They're exchanging money for dairy farms, selling 110 to 20 liters of milk a day. The tobacco growing, one example, gross income of 1,825 marks from 1.05 hectares of land under tobacco. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like. Fattened pigs for sale in Friedrichsthal, 497 out of 1,140.
Inhabitants keep pigs. Okay, so basically, like 1/2 of them have pigs
that they just fatten up and they sell, right?
Yeah, they don't eat. Yeah, so it's like they're not like the sharecropper who is like using his farm for his own sustenance.
Yeah. And in Hagsfield, 220 out of 1,273 inhabitants. So like, okay, so a lot of these people just keep pigs just to fatten them up for the thing.
And then so
this minority who alone possesses all the features of prosperity, so much admired by the critics. So they're saying, look, they have these pigs, they have all this stuff, but they don't use that fucking stuff. Right? So like, saying that they have this stuff, like,
they're selling
that's great.
It to the gentry.
Yeah. So, heck, come on, buddy. Jesus. Where is it? Are without a doubt quite frequent employers of hired labor. In the next group, to which the majority of farmers in Blackenloch belong, standards are very much lower. Less fertilizer used, the yield is lower, there's less livestock. In Friedrichsthal, the number of livestock expressed in terms of cattle is 599 head on of 258 hectares. In Blackenloch, 842.
Oh, because you need grazing ground. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, oh God, that one's really small in Friedrichsthal, but the rest is kind of like even heads to hectares. Parlors are more, is a hectare like an acre? Like,
yeah. No, it's more like I believe like a 10 square meters or something. Hectare. I don't know. We'll put in, Janet will put it in later when it's appropriate, like the unit.
Okay, 1 hectare is 2.47 acres.
Okay, so is it about 10? So it's about a square meter. I was, okay, that's right. Interesting.
Nice. That's, pretty big. Parlors are more rarely seen in the houses. Meat is far from being a daily fare, and many families practice what is familiar to us Russians, the selling of grain in the autumn when they are hard pressed for money, and the repurchasing of grain in the spring. In this group, the center of gravity is constantly shifting from agriculture to industry. And in 103 Blackenloch peasants are 103 Blackenloch peasants are already employed as factory workers in Karlsruhe. These, together with almost the entire population of Hagsfeld, from the third category, 40 or 50% of the total number of the farms. In this category, agriculture is a sideline in which mostly women are engaged. Interesting. The standard of living is higher than in Blackenloch, the result of the influence of the capital city, but poverty is strongly felt. The peasants sell their milk and for themselves sometimes purchase cheaper margarine.
Oh yeah, Lenin feels really strongly against margarine. Like he has written multiple articles like margarine. Like he's really against. He feels really strongly about margarine.
I love it. The number of goats kept is rapidly increasing from 9 in 1855 to 993 in 9 to 93 in 1893.
Oh, that's a big increase in goats.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
How did they get that many goats in never mind. Okay.
This increase, writes Hecht, can be explained only by the disappearance of farms that are strictly speaking peasant farms and the breakup of
basically this is what happened. We have an article about this, about sheep devouring people, basically kicking out people from rural people from their homes, and then the bigger farms stealing their land, literally.
Damn.
Yeah, sheep devours people.
In the peasant class, into the class of the rural factory workers possessing extremely small plots of land. Parenthetically, it should be said that between 1882 and 1895, the number of goats in Germany increased enormously, from 2,400,000 to 3,100,000, which clearly reveals the reverse of the progress of the sturdy peasantry.
Yep,
which
sheep devouring people. So they would steal these rural people's lands to make it into grazing ground.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Which the Bulgakovs and the petty bourgeois socialist critics laud to the skies. The majority of the workers walk 3.5 kilometers every day to their factories in the town because they cannot afford to spend even 1 mark on a week on railway fares. Nearly 150 workers out of 300 in Hagsfeld find it beyond their means to pay even 40 or 50 I'm gonna call those pennies.
It's kind of like cents, I believe. Okay.
Pfennings. Okay. 40 or 50 pfennings for dinner in the public dining room and have their dinners brought to them from home. Punctually at 11 o'clock, writes Hecht, the poor woman folk put the dinner into their pots and carry them to the factories. Holy fuck. 11 o'clock at night?
I don't know.
In the day? What?
I don't know. It could be night dinner.
Fuck, how long? 10 hours a day. As for the working women, they too work at the factory 10 hours a day, and all they receive for their toil is $1.10 to 100 or $1.50.
Marks. Hold on. 1 mark and 10 pfennings, or 1 mark to 50 pfennings.
Yes, it's very small, it seems like. The men received 2.5
to 2.7 marks.
Well, fuck. God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it.
Yeah.
At piecework, they earn from
1.7 to 2 marks. Piecework is kind of like the gig economy, where
it's like odd jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of the working women try to supplement their meager wages by some auxiliary employment. In Black and Luck, 4 girls work at the paper mill in Karlsruhe, and they take home paper to make bags at night, working from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Fuck, that is sick. I don't know what sick means, but it means
that guy probably had a typo, and Lenin is coding that guy, and he's making it a point that this was a typo by him.
They can make 300 bags for which they receive 40 or 50 pfennings. Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
This supplements their daily earning. Goes to pay, this supplement to their daily earnings goes to pay their railway fares to and from work. Imagine getting a fucking another job so you can pay to go to your first job.
Oh my God.
Are you fucking serious?
I can actually imagine this, because I swear to God, I've read one of these, it sounds like something that like one of those Uber horror stories. I don't know why, but it feels like, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, how like daycare now is like a fucking mortgage. So you would have to make double what you're making, to bring home and also put your kid in daycare. So that's what I'm experiencing right now.
So you put your kid in daycare, or do you?
No, I can't. No, I can't.
So what do you do then?
I suffer through school. Very poor.
You suffer through school?
Yeah. I'm in school right now.
Oh, you study and
yeah,
you
I'm
have
studying.
I'm confused now.
Student loans, just
no, but how does that relate to the children?
I mean, because it's just very expensive, you have to pay to go to work, like
so
if
you don't work, but you take care of the children.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, so that's a job in itself, right? That's
yeah. I'm sorry. I just didn't understand what you meant.
Yeah, no, I'm saying for me to be out like going to work, like I would have to pay more to go to work, which is what these people are doing right now. They're like, I'm getting another job so I can afford to go to work.
Instead of walking 6 miles a day, I get to take a train.
I mean, that's a little bit more convenient, but not too much because you have to fucking slave to get the Fennings to do that. It's just, that sounds terrible. And like, what do they have to do? They have to go to their jobs and then they also bring food to their husbands while they work. And then if you have children as well, like what the fuck?
Usually they drop, I think they dropped okay. In England, it gets really dark. They invented heroin and they dope up the kids on heroin so they'd sleep while they were at work.
Oh, that doesn't seem good.
No, it was not good.
That seems like it would have lasting effects on the population.
It did.
Growing up being addicted to heroin doesn't.
I don't know if they were addicted. They were like, I don't know, something happened. Well,
something did happen.
Yeah. I don't know what to say.
That's not good. Oh no, I have never heard of that before.
No, heroin was used as a babysitter. I can show you some of these heroin babysitter ads.
Oh no. Oh yeah, we have to look at that now.
Okay, sorry about
Children's morphine, now in 5 great flavors. Children's love.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh no. Easy dose with a rubber nipple now included. Wow, just makes it so easy to dope your children, you guys.
Yeah. So they were like, this is so that they could go work in factories.
How, Jesus.
Because they couldn't afford a babysitter, and
like they won't move if they're fucking zooted on heroin.
Well, no. Then you know that the children aren't like going to electric plugs and stuff. They're like sleeping and
safe.
So then you can work all night.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's
Your
not great.
doped up children are safe, so you can work all night.
Oh my God, laudanum, because babies should be seen and not heard.
Yeah. This is how you work the night shift. Just dope them up on heroin.
Listen to this. This sounds like amazing. I want to take this. This is one night cough syrup. It's got alcohol, cannabis, indica, chloroform. Like, I'm going to feel really good. I don't know.
Does it also have like chloroform?
It does have chloroform in it, yes.
So
yeah. How else are you going to get a good night's sleep if you don't have chloroform in there? Oh, shit. When did they stop using this stuff?
Well, in World War I, Blanche. Sophia. Okay. My sister's asking me about the Golden Girls. Okay.
That is so weird. She was asking about the Golden Girls because when you guys started talking about this, I was thinking about how Rose, so Betty White's character, actually talked about how she gave whiskey to her children so they.
Okay, well,
and the other Golden Girls,
right?
Like, oh my god!
In St. Olaf, Minnesota.
Rest in peace, Betty.
Yeah, but that was because she was from Minnesota. Whiskey's okay. It's fine. She gave whiskey to her. Okay, but whiskey. Okay, this seems like almost better compared to heroin for your kids.
Yeah,
okay,
whiskey would be a little better than heroin.
Okay, let's go back on topic.
Okay, where was I at? Shit. Okay, I was right. Okay, several women who worked in factories as girls earn a little extra money polishing silverware on winter evenings. The Hagsfield worker, says Hecht, has a permanent residence, not by imperial order, but as a result of his own efforts. He has a little house, which he is not compelled to share with others, and a small plot of land. But more important than these real possessions is the consciousness that they have been acquired by his own diligence. The Hagsfield worker is both a factory worker and a peasant. Those with no land of their own rent at least a few strips to supplement their income by working in their spare time.
Holy God. This is like, remember? Oh my God. Oh my, this sounds like a horror show. This is like one of, you know how on CNBC they always like say this like 5-year-old had to sell 1,000 lemonade. Like this sounds like what do you call it? Like atrocity porn.
This is just the Sigma grind set, okay?
Yeah. The atrocity porn where it's like this. They try to spin as a heartwarming story.
Yeah, they're like, oh, these people pulled together and they raised
like this kid sold lemonade in order to pay for his mom's cancer. I swear this is a real story.
No, I know. I've heard that one before. Yeah, they've done the lemonade for his mom's cancer.
I know. And you're
treatment.
Like,
yeah. You're like,
yeah.
This atrocity is actually porn. Not a good story.
Yeah, this is atrocity porn is what I call it.
Yeah. Shoot, sorry. And when in the summer, when work in the field when work in the factory starts only at 7 o'clock, the workers rise. Yep, the workers rise at 4 in order to hoe potatoes in his own field or to carry fodder to the cattle. Carry fodder to the cattle, not the cow. Right. Or when he returns from work at 7 in the evening, what is there for him to do, especially in the summer? Well, he puts in an hour or an hour and a half in his field. He does not want a high rent from land. He merely wants to make his full use of his power, his labor power. Heck goes on.
What? This seriously sounds like one of those CNBC porn.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, he's just a hustler, you guys.
Yeah, like, this guy, like something like this dad walked 17 miles. I'm gonna have to find the CNBC atrocity porn. Okay. Maybe atrocity porn is not the right. I forgot. It's a different kind of porn.
No, I feel like that's right. Yeah, it's like they're making this really horrible like dystopian capital like story, and they're like flipping it to see all the bright side. See, they're just helping each other out. They're being plucky,
okay. Texas teen gives up her entire college savings to help pay for her mom's rent to stop her from being evicted.
That's a good one.
Okay. Hold on. There's one that's deleted. Home Depot deleted one.
Home Depot.
Apparently, okay. What? Oh my God! Watch this 60-year-old woman walks 12 miles to work every day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
She is a symbol of hard work and determination to her community.
No, she's a symbol of a failure of our fucking country.
Poor old lady needs to be like retired
and hanging out with her grandkids, right? Like, or doing
like walking 20 miles, 12 miles to, holy God, to work and back. Oh my God.
Probably doesn't even make a living wage.
Yeah, it's horrible. Okay, it is. Yeah, it's some kind of porn. Yeah, this is what that guy is doing too. The heartwarming atrocity porn.
Mm-hmm. So Heck goes on in a great length in this unctuous strain and concludes his book with the words, "The dwarf peasants and the factory worker have both raised themselves to the position of middle class, not as a result of artificial and coercive measures, but as a result of their own diligence, their own energy, and higher morality they have reached." Holy fuck. So they're just saying, just work and do hard and you'll get the right stuff, That's the American dream right there, baby.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's sick.
Okay.
3 villages of the Baden are now represent one great and broad middle class.
Okay.
It's middle class porn. It's fucking disgusting. They do it here all the time.
Oh my God, this is exactly it. Okay, this is so awesome. Okay, this is the Home Depot deleted tweet. Okay. 2-year-old Logan Moore needed a walker to get around, but his family didn't know if insurance would cover one. So his local Home Depot found parts and made it themselves.
Wow. Yeah, prosthetics are like being made by people with Legos instead of like, that's another thing too. Like Lego, I think Lego funded.
I don't know, but okay. Young boy takes a stand. Oh, okay. Young boy sells lemonade to help his baby brother's life-threatening treatment. So it's like 11-year-old that has, oh my God, this is like, okay. Oh my God, 2-year-old couldn't walk on his own. So a high school robotics team built him a customized toy car. Michigan boy 12 rakes leaves to raise money for gravestone of a friend who died of cancer. 13-year-old boy sells Xbox and does yard work to buy his single mom a car. Devoted dad works night shift as janitors to put all 5 kids through. Oh my God. Yeah, it is atrocity porn. Sorry. Okay. I hate it.
Yeah, so they're doing the middle class thing. Like,
porn,
we have such a strong middle class. Look at us here.
I know, here in Baden.
There's nothing astonishing in the fact that Hecht writes in this vein, for he is a bourgeois apologist of the common or garden variety. But what name do these people deserve who, to deceive others, call themselves socialists, who paint reality in still brighter colors than does Hecht, point to the prosperity of the bourgeoisie minority.
Reality in brighter colors, like, interesting. And I feel like this is like a warning to yeah.
So they point to the prosperity of the bourgeois minority as general progress and conceal their proletarianization of the majority with the stale shibboleth unification of agriculture and industry.
Well, shibboleth means like prayer or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's just fucking like, it's all a lie to fucking, secure his own place in society. Like these bourgeois apologists have what they want. So they think it's fine the way it is, right? They're like, everyone just work harder and you'll be fine just like me. But that's not fucking true.
That's a complete lie, as we know, because like I said, the child slave in Congo is the hardest worker in this world.
Yeah. And, you know, like yeah, chocolate too. You know, you should not even be buying chocolate. Nobody should be buying chocolate.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. But
it's not. Well, we can't. Well, that's the thing is instead of that, we should just eliminate capitalism. Like you can't it's.
Well, yeah. There's no consumer side boycotting that's going to do anything.
Is also false. Like they create whatever is available, so you have to. It's not your fault. Like it's so you have to basically let them do the revolution in Congo, and then I always think about it like there's like 1,000, a little over like 1% of the American population who are in military bases all over the world, and of course they're protecting capital, and it's such a small percentage, and all they have to do is just like stop, just chill out, just not do it, and capitalism would just crumble automatically. Like Douglas Valentine, one of my favorite authors, he said he agreed with me that these like this 1% or like these like 1,000 people or whoever, all they literally need to do is just in order to make capitalism crumble is like if you're in a US military base, just not do anything, literally. Just turn off, just don't do it, and it'll crumble. And sad, but they're too embourgeoisified to do that.
They're brainwashed
and embourgeoisified. You should listen to our podcast episode called Napalm, Beer, and like. So the U.S. government spends billions on like making these really. Just listen to that episode and you'll understand what they do.
Nice. Okay.
So, is this the end of this chapter?
It is. It is.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Well, I really appreciate you inviting me on here. I always love reading, and especially with you. You have so much insight that I really appreciate when reading pieces. So thanks for inviting me, Esha. It was really nice hanging out.
Well, thanks for agreeing to be I guess, however long it takes to finish this.
Yes.
So I guess we'll see you next week on Late Nights with Lenin.
Bye.
Привет. Oh, no. That's I'm saying hello. I'm tired.
You're on, Esha.
Oh, yeah.
Esha. I don't know if she knows that it's done. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to have to...
Hi, everyone. We are back. And I didn't even know this. Okay. So I was looking up the most insane things written about Stalin. And I think Winston Churchill tops the insane things. So apparently Winston Churchill in 1942 was like mentioning something about the Ukrainian famine. And Stalin did something like this, as in talk to the hand or shut up, or I don't want to. He raised both his hands and be like, I don't want to talk about this. And Winston Churchill interpreted this as 10 million people died of a famine. Which podcast episode? This week's, it's really cool. It's about COINTELPRO. I don't know which podcast episode, but yeah, I should do a compilation of like top 10 of the most unhinged books on just most unhinged crap about Stalin. I actually did one earlier this year, no, last year, where this cartoon was like, he let Germans in Russia freeze to death in 1944, and then they accused him of building the Berlin Wall in 1961. Unfortunately, he had died in 1953, and yeah. The one I mentioned, okay, beer napalm. It's called Beer Napalm and Meredith Lyer. So beer napalm and something else. I can't even remember. But yeah, it's about U.S. war hedonism. I will drop the link. I'll tweet out the link at the end. Thank you so much, Deanna Troy. Live long and prosper. I'm a big Trekkie, except I don't like Mariana Siritis because she's really, it is impossible to, like, if I were to spend the rest of my life debunking every sentence in the West about Stalin is a lot. Like, I kid you not. It is impossible to do it in like one. Heck, there would be like 100 collected. It would be it would probably take up an entire bookshelf. So, for example, today somebody told me, well, tell me what you think of Timothy Schneider's Bloodland. So I downloaded it. By the way, I hate. Oh my God, he's okay. By the way, just so you know, he's like no matter what. Yeah, okay. So then on the first chapter, in the first line, he said, an enterprising young Welsh journalist, Gareth Jones. But then he forgot to mention that Gareth Jones was literally on a private jet sitting between Hitler. I kid you not, sitting between Hitler and Goebbels the day before, 8 hours before he went to Ukraine to report on the famine. So literally, like, well, yeah, we are a Marxist-Leninist podcast, and Stalin is one of the most important figures. So of course we're talking about Stalin all the time. But really, it's like you have to even going line by line. Like there are so like an average publication in the West is every single line is a lie. Like Timothy Schneider's Bloodlands, even like it's so bad that they mistranslated the Russian V as the English B about this guy burying him, like, and it was like I kid you not, it's just like I can't even explain how in like Winston Churchill's like, isn't okay, Stalin did this and Winston Churchill saw 10 million people. I'm trying to, they're all just like, okay. So imagine Ben Shapiro, like, you know how Ben Shapiro makes insane rants about the Democrats? Now, remember how, okay, so Obama's not a communist, but see how the right wing like makes insane rants about Obama being a communist? Now imagine Stalin actually being a communist and having the most racist people, like literal Nazis, like everything you read is that insane Nazi rant. Yeah, it's like an insane, and it's always by insane, like when everything in the West is literally written by insane Nazis ranting and foaming at the mouth, and they're offended. Like as Corey Robbins says, like they're just offended that this Asian guy dared to. How dare he tell us not to commit genocide? How offensive, that Asiatic thing. Kwame Ture said, everything America says is a lie. If they tell the truth, it's because they lied to exactly. The more you realize this, the more you'll understand everything. because the truth is not centrist. The truth is like, okay, so I'm gonna before I go to Nadezhda remembers, I'm gonna have to. There is a saying where you'll see. Oh my God! Thank you, Norville. 90 Gorillion people. Stalinian, Mawillian. Okay, so I forgot what I was. Oh, yeah. There's a saying. You know how they talk about how I can't. I don't know if they talk about it with regards to Stalin or Lenin, where they say when I think it's Stalin, but it definitely applies to Lenin. For me, it applied to Lenin, where they say when Stalin's right, he's right, and when he's wrong, he's also right. That actually happened to me once. It was in my old TikTok account where this Finnish lady was very sure that Finland did not commit massive extermination on the scale that Lenin said. Lenin said that Finland exterminated like 100,000 people. Well, I then looked up Finnish records that they have right now. And unfortunately for her, Lenin kind of was very conservative on the estimate, and they had actually exterminated 500,000 people. So, in a way, Lenin was wrong, but he was actually right. There are not so many fake Lenin quotes because you can just like search Lenin's collected works, and there were a lot of fake Stalin quotes because Stalin was in the age of not the age of the internet. He was there when there was like radio and TV and movies. So there are videos. Like not everything of Stalin's is like, if it's not written, it's like lost to history. So yeah. It's okay. The worst one is, and it's usually like some Nazi imagining what Stalin said. And yeah, so for me, it's if it's not in Stalin's collected works and you can't find a video or an audio recording of Stalin saying it, I'm just gonna assume you're lying because I had to deal. I mean, with Stalin, I give you no. You've lost all credibility, so I'm just going to assume you're lying unless you can give me 100% proof. Anyways, I know it's late at night and I was not thinking. So without further ado, we will start with Geneva. Tell me if it's if I've relaxed too much and you can't see or hear. We moved to Geneva. I don't know where we. Okay, I'll just read. I'm going to start with this, which is okay. I have a green marker, so I guess that's where we left off. Okay. We moved to Geneva in April 1903 and took up residence in the working class suburb of Zeheron, where we rented a small house all to ourselves. There was a big kitchen with a stone floor downstairs, 3 tiny living rooms upstairs. The kitchen served as our living room. We made up for the scarcity of furniture by using the packing cases that held our books and crockery. Ignat Krasikov dubbed our kitchen Smuggler's Den. The place was terribly crowded. When we wanted to have a private talk with anyone, we had to go to the park nearby or the shore of the lake. The delegates began to arrive. The Dementievs came. Kostya, Dementiev's wife, amazed Lenin by her familiarity with the shipment business. She's a real shipper, he kept on repeating. That's a real business, not idle talk. The more I learn about Lenin, like the more adorable he seems to me. So today I learned that he went to see the Soviet avant-garde art institute, and he saw these like avant-garde art, and then he thought, oh, maybe this is not like, he asked about their politics, and he's like, maybe this is too disconnected from the proletariats. And then afterwards, he's like, don't listen to me. I'm an old man. What do I know about young people's art? So, yeah, he's so adorable. I wish he were alive. Anyways, okay. Another arrival was Lyubov Radchenko, whom we were on intimate terms. We talked for hours. Then came the Rostov delegates, Gusev and Lokerman. Then Zemalcha, Chapman, Berg, uncle, youth is Dmitry Ilyich, as in Vladimir's brother. Somebody turned up every day. We discussed questions concerning the program and the Bund with the delegates, listened to their stories. Martov was always at our place, and he was never tired of talking with the delegates. The delegates had to be told about the stand of Yuzhny Rabochu group, that's Southern workers, who, under the guise of a popular newspaper, wanted to reserve the right to a separate existence. We had to explain that a popular newspaper could not become a mass medium under the conditions of illegality and could not count on mass circulation. The differences of opinion arose on the editorial board of Iskra. The situation grew intolerable. The editors were generally divided into two trios: Plekhanov, Axelrod, and Zasulich in one, Lenin, Martov, and Potresov in the other. Vladimir Ilyich again proposed what he already proposed in March, that a seventh member be co-opted. Provisionally, until the Congress, Krasikov was co-opted. The question of an editorial trio began to occupy Ilyich's thoughts more and more. It was a sore subject, but nothing had been said to the delegates about it. The fact that the Iskra editorial board, as then constituted, was no longer able to handle the job was too painful a thing to talk about. The delegates complained about the OC members. One was accused of being too brusque and careless, another being too passive. There were signs of discontent about Iskra wanting to boss the show, but the general impression was that there were no differences, and after the Congress, everything would go swimmingly. All the delegates had arrived except Claire, Krzyzhanovsky, and Kurz Legnik. Yeah, lectures are terrible. I'm sure, but the thing is, like Lenin's didn't really do much privately. Like, he kind of was not a very good at impulse control. That's why I have a theory that he has ADHD, but he had ADHD. I swear he did. It was originally intended to hold the Congress in Brussels, and in fact, the first sittings were held there. Kolstov, an old Plekhanovite, lived in Brussels at the time, and he undertook to see all the arrangements as it turned out. However, it was not so easy to arrange the Congress there. All the delegates were to have reported to Kolstov, but after 4 or 5 Russians had called on him, his landlady told him she would not stand any more of this coming and going, and if one more person called, he would have to move out at once. Kolstov's wife, after that, stood on the street corner all day long, intercepting the delegates and directing them to the Socialist Hotel Coq d'Or, as I believe it was called. The delegates overran the whole hotel, and Gusev, after a drop of brandy, sang operatic arias in the evening in such a powerful voice that crowds collected at the windows outside. My viewers want me. Oh God. Okay, Twitch people. I need to. Okay, I'm just gonna have to stop. Twitch people. Okay. I exist. No, literally, like this entire show is me reading from Lenin or about Lenin, and that's the premise of this show. So, whatever. I forget. After that crowd collected, Vladimir Ilyich loved Gusev's singing, especially the song "We Were Wedded Out of Church." I'm gonna have to search about this song. We overdid the secrecy precautions, though. The Belgian party thought it would be safer to hold the Congress in vast flour warehouses. Our intrusion there succeeded in astonishing the rats and the policemen. The word went around that the Russian revolutionaries had got together to plot in secret. The Congress was attended by 43 delegates with the deciding vote and 14 with a deliberative vote. In comparison with present-day Congresses, where numbers of delegates represent hundreds of thousands of party members, this Congress would seem a small one. But at that time, we thought it was big. The first Congress, held in 1898, was attended only by 9 persons. Everyone felt that considerable progress had been made in those 5 years. Yep, they had 5 times as many delegates. Most important of all, the organizations these delegates came from were no longer semi-mythical. They definitely existed and were already in touch with the working class movement, which was beginning to spread even wider. Semi-mythical. How Vladimir Ilyich had always dreamed of such a Congress. Oh my God. Imagine what he's gonna, from heaven, I can see him looking at the Chinese Communist Party conferences every year from heaven with like the billion people. Okay. Further, I can see him like, They said something really dumb, like reading from a book. The Twitch viewers said something really dumb, like reading from a book is not helping your viewer count. And then I realized that, Twitch viewers are bad for my ADHD because, and they always have the stupidest. Okay, they have the most incongruent, not stupid, but just incongruent, irrelevant comments that, like, I should, I can't engage with them. Okay. He held the party Congress to be the highest authority, where all things personal had to be cast aside and nothing was to be concealed, and everything was to be open and above board. He always took great pains in preparing for party congresses and was particularly careful in thinking out his speeches. Plekhanov looked forward to the Congress just as eagerly as Vladimir Ilyich. He opened it. A big window of the floor flour warehouse near the improvised platform was covered with some red cloth. Everyone was excited. Plekhanov's speech, uttered with genuine and deep feeling, sounded solemn. No wonder. The long years of emigrant life seemed like a thing of the past. He was opening the Congress of the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party. Strictly speaking, the Second Congress was an inaugural Congress. Fundamental questions of theory were raised there, and foundations of party ideology were laid. At the first Congress, only the party's designation and manifesto on its formation had been adopted. Up to that time of the Second Congress, the party had no program. The editorial board of Iskra had drafted such a program that it had been under discussion for a long time. Every word, every sentence had been motivated, weighed, and hotly debated. Correspondence on the program had been carried on for months between Munich and Swiss sections of the editorial board. Many practical workers regarded these disputes to be of a purely abstract nature and did not think it mattered whether the more or less proviso was left standing in the program or not. Vladimir Ilyich and I were once reminded of a simile used by Lev Tolstoy. He was going along and saw from afar a man squatting and waving his arms in a ridiculous way. A madman, he thought. When he drew nearer, he saw it to be a man sharpening a knife on the curb. Same thing happened in theoretical disputes. From the outside, it seems like a sheer waste of time. But when you go into the matter more deeply, you see that it is a momentous issue. It was like that with the program. When the delegates began to arrive in Geneva, the chief question discussed with them in greatest detail was that of the program. That question went through at the Congress more smoothly than any other. The second question of tremendous importance discussed at the Second Congress was that of the Bund. It had been resolved at the First Congress that the Bund constituted a section of the party, albeit an autonomous one. During the 5 years that had elapsed since the First Congress, the party, practically speaking, had not existed as a united whole, and the Bund had led a separate existence. Now, the Bund wanted to make good the separateness and to establish mere federative relations with the RSDLP. The motivation behind this was that the Bund, reflecting as it did the mood of the artisans of the small Jewish towns, was much more interested in the economic than in the political struggle. Therefore, sympathized much more with the economists than with the Iskraists. The issue at stake was whether the country was to have a strong United Workers' Party rallying solidly around the workers of all nationalities living on Russian territory, or whether it was to have several workers constituted separately according to nationality. It was a question of achieving international solidarity within the country. The Iskra editorial board stood for international consolidation of the working class. The Bund stood for national separatism and mere friendly contractual relations between national workers' parties of Russia. The question of the Bund had also been discussed in detail with the delegates as they arrived and was likewise decided on Iskra lines by an overwhelming majority. The vast importance of the fundamental issues dealt with and decided at the Second Congress was later overshadowed for many by the split. During the debates on these questions, Vladimir Ilyich felt more than usually close to Plekhanov. The latter's speech to the effect that the thesis, the good of the revolution is the highest law, should be considered the basic democratic principle, and that even the idea of universal franchise should be regarded from the point of view of this principle, made a profound impression on Vladimir Ilyich. He recollected it 14 years later when the Bolsheviks were faced with the question of dismissing the Constituent Assembly. By the way, the bourgeoisie were literally murdering workers and cutting off peasants' arms and legs and making human skin suits out of them when Lenin dissolved that Constituent Assembly, regardless of what Chomsky might say. God, okay. Another speech that Plekhanov that fell in with Vladimir Ilyinch's idea was that in which he spoke about the importance of popular education as being guaranteed on the rights of the proletariat. Plekhanov felt close to Lenin at the Congress. Replying to Akimov, an ardent supporter of Rabochaya Dielo group, who was all out to create dissension between Plekhanov and Lenin, Plekhanov said humorously, Napoleon had a craze for making his marshals divorce their wives. Some marshals submitted, although they loved their wives. Comrade Akimov reminds me of Napoleon. He wants me to divorce Lenin at all costs, but I shall show more character than Napoleon's marshals. I shall not divorce Lenin, and I hope he does not intend to divorce me. Lenin laughed and shook his head. During the discussion on the first item on the agenda, the Constitution of the Congress, an unexpected incident occurred over the question of inviting representative of the Borba group. That's Trotsky's group, by the way. I don't think Trotsky's in it yet, but that's Trotsky's rag is what's called Borba, which is struggle. Ryazanov, Nevzorov, and Gurevich. The OC wanted to come forward with its own opinion, but it was not a question of the Borba group at all. The OC was trying to impose a special discipline on its members in the face of the Congress. The OC wanted to act as a group which previously decided amongst themselves how they were going to vote. And speak at the Congress as a group. Thus, the supreme authority for the member of Congress would be the group and not the Congress itself. Lenin was fairly boiling with indignation. He was not the only one to support Pavlovich Krasikov when the latter protested against this tactic. He was backed by Martov and others. Although the OC dismissed by the Congress, the incident was significant and augured over all kinds of complications. The incident, however, was temporarily pushed to the background by the momentous issues as the Bund's place within the party and the party's program. On the question of the Bund, the Iskra editorial board, the OC, the local delegates were of one mind. Yegorov, representative of Yuzhnu Rabochu, which is Yuzhnu or Yuzhny, I don't know. What sound does Y make it? I don't know. Maybe I'm confused. Okay, it's Southern workers. The member of the OC came out emphatically against the Bund. Plekhanov complimented him during the recess, saying that his speech ought to be spread wide and through all the communes. The Bund was utterly defeated, and a thesis that national peculiar. Oh, okay. 1 second. I'm gonna replace the battery. I'm back. Sorry. I don't know how much battery, but yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me put the old battery in charging in case. Oh, no wonder it's not being charged. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna. Okay, never mind. I'm just if there's no so if this battery goes out, we're done for the night. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so Chomsky historically channel. You said okay. The main way to fund infrastructure is to take over state power, and you don't really need to fund infrastructure. You just need to get. Long story. Chomsky he's 92 and he's still an anarchist. You should not be an anarchist after the age of 13. No offense to Janet, unless you're a good anarchist. But seriously, Noam Chomsky is always on, exactly like in 1992 when he had this conspiracy theory about Serbians with like Russians with nuclear backpacks in Serbia. Yep. Chomsky is so old. He has, yeah. I don't know if he's a CIA asset. I think he's just somebody who's not very smart, and he's an idealist, and he repeats bourgeoisie orthodoxy. And it irritates me because he's ancient and he should remember a lot of stuff, like which Korea has the will of the people. Compatible left, yes. You say what you like because they like what you say, parenti. Absolutely. You don't notice the leash if you don't wander far from the peg. Yep. Marx's best stuff was about everything. I actually think Marx is a good theorist, but not a very good writer. And Engels explains everything way better than Marx does. So you should read Engels and Lenin. Chomsky is so old that Dust is made out of it. No, seriously, Chomsky should really just stop appearing in public, or just stop appearing. I don't know. Okay, I lost my train of thought. Stein. Okay, where was we? Second. Okay. Okay. Plekhanov. Okay. The Bund. Okay. Meanwhile, we were compelled to move to London. The Brussels police made things difficult for the delegates when they deported Zemliachka and someone else, and we got moving. See, you could actually make a really funny comedy movies out of all of this early Bolshevik stuff. Imagine imagine if you have to you're imagine if you were the Democratic Party had to relocate from Philadelphia because they got deported. That would be hilarious. What did he say? Chomsky. Okay. He's very good at exactly these stupid. Oh my God. He had this interview with Mehdi Hassan, and he was talking about the KPD who were all murdered because of the SPD betrayed them. And it's the KPD was against the SPD, and is yeah, that's because the SPD murdered them. And it's really yeah, of course, after you kill the KPD would not trust the SPD after they sent in death squads to murder them. I mean, I need to really do a Chomsky, all the dumb stuff that Chomsky does with the compilation. But the problem is the research takes so much time, and it's a time money. I wish I could hire somebody to cut everything, because it's so time consuming for me that I can't get writing done or something like that. Oh boy. Or research for a podcast. It's I don't know what to do. Ay caramba, Dios mío. The discussion of the Bund question was continued. Then, while the question of the program was on its committee stage, we passed the fourth item on the agenda, the question of approving Iskra as a central organ. Iskra was unanimously recognized as such, and the Rabocha Diallo group alone being against Iskra was hailed with enthusiasm. Even Popov Rozanov, the representative of the OC, said, "Here at this Congress, we see a united party created largely through the activity of Iskra." That was the 10th sitting. There were 37 sittings in all. The clouds steadily began to gather. 3 persons had to be elected to the Central Committee. No nucleus of the Central Committee was available. One unquestionable candidature was Glebov Noskov, who had proved himself to be an energetic organizer. Another would have been Claire Krzyzhanovsky had he been at the Congress, but he was not. The voting for him in courts had to be done by proxy, which was extremely awkward. On the other hand, there were far too many generals at the Congress who were candidates for the Central Committee. These were Jacques, Stein, Alexandrova, Fomin, Krochmal, Stern, Kostaya, Rosa, Gal, Berstadt, Popov, Rozanov, and Yegorov, Levin. All these candidates were candidates for 2 seats on the CC trio. We knew one another not only as party workers, but in intimate personal life. It was all a tangle of personal sympathies and antipathies. The atmosphere grew tenser, but the time for voting approached, and although the accusations of the Bund and the Rabochia Diallo about the foreign center wanting to control and dictate, etc., had been met with a solid rebuff at the outset, they had done their work by influencing the center and waverers, although they may have not been aware of it. One of whose control were people afraid, not of Martov, Zalulovich, Starov, Axelrod, of course. They were afraid of Lenin's and Plekhanov's control. They knew that the questions of personnel and Russian work would be decided by Lenin and not by Plekhanov, who took no part in practical work. The Congress had endorsed the Iskra line, but the Iskra editorial board still had to be elected. Vladimir Ilyich moved that the editorial board of Iskra should consist of 3 members. He had told Martov and Potrasov about this proposal beforehand, speaking with the delegates on arrival. Martov had supported the idea of 3 editors being the most expedient. He realized that the 3-man proposal was aimed chiefly against Plekhanov. When Ilyich handed Plekhanov his draft proposal for an editorial board of 3, Plekhanov read it and put it in his pocket without saying a word. He understood what it was about and agreed to it. Once there was a party, practical work was necessary. Martov was mixed more with the members of the organizing committee than anyone else on Iskra. It did not take long to persuade him that the 3-man idea was directed against him, and that if he joined in betraying Zasulich and Potrasov and Axelrod and Zasulich would be greatly upset. In such an atmosphere, dispute over the first paragraph of the rules assumed an extremely acrimonious character. Lenin and Martov politically and organizationally disagreed on the question of paragraph 1 of the party rules. And this is after they've been going on for 37 days, I guess, and had to change countries because they got deported. They had often disagreed before, but such differences had been confined to narrow limits and had soon been sunk. Now they had come at the Congress, and everyone who had a grudge against Iskra, against Plekhanov and Lenin, went out of his way to fan it up into a disagreement on the fundamental issue. Lenin was attacked for his article, Where to Begin, and his pamphlet, What is to be Done, accused of being too ambitious and so on. In his booklet, One Step Forward, Two Steps Back, he wrote, I cannot help recalling this connection, in this connection, a conversation I happened to have with one of the center delegates. How oppressive the atmosphere is at the Congress, our Congress, he had complained. This bitter fighting, this agitation against one another, this biting controversy, this uncomradely attitude. What a splendid Congress thing our Congress is, I replied. A free and open struggle. Opinions have been stated, shades have been brought out. The groups have been taken shape and hands have been raised. A decision has been taken, a stage has been passed forward. That's the stuff for me. That's life. That's not like endless, tedious word chopping of intellectuals, which terminates not because the question has been settled, but because they're too tired to talk more. This is kind of sweet. Comrade of the center had looked at me with a puzzled expression, shrugged his shoulders. We were speaking in different tongues. Here in this quotation, we have the whole of Ilyich. His nerves had been keyed up from the very beginning of the Congress. The Belgian worker with whom we lodged in Brussels was very upset at Vladimir Ilyich not eating the lovely radishes and Dutch cheese which he served every morning. He was too worried to be able to eat anything. In London, he worried so much that he stopped sleeping altogether. Vehement though he was in debates, Vladimir was absolutely impartial as chairman and never treated an opponent unfairly. Not so Plekhanov. When he was a chair, he'd like to flash his wit and tease his opponents. Although there were no differences among the overwhelming majority of the delegates on the question of the Bund's place in the party, on the question of the program and the acceptance of the Iskra line as their banner, a definite rift made itself halfway through the Congress and deepened towards the end. Strictly speaking, no differences of standing in the way of joint work or making work impossible had come to light at Congress. They had existed in latent, however, potentially, so to speak, form. Yet the Congress was clearly divided. Many were inclined to blame Plekhanov's tactlessness and Lenin's vehement ambition, Pavlov's pinprick, and the unfair treatment of Zasulich and Axelrod as they sided with those who had a grievance. They missed the substance through looking at personalities. Trotsky was one of them. That's so funny. He became a fierce opponent of Lenin, and the substance was this: that the comrades grouped around Lenin were far more seriously committed to principle, which they wanted to see applied at all costs and pervading in all the practical work. The other group was more of the man in the street mentality and were given to compromises and concessions in principle and had more regard for persons. Ha ha ha. This is, I like this like subtle dig at Trotsky. He sucks. I mean, like, okay. I often like lie awake at night wondering what do like if I could go back in time to save the Soviet Union, what would I do? And killing. I often think like killing Trotsky early on and like going back to 1901 is like one of the things like I often consider, because he like was like one of like the biggest tools for the anti-Soviet like agitation. He split so many communist parties worldwide with his stupid Trotskyite parties, which then split into 100 parties. So I'm not entirely sure if the second option is, of course, stopping Lenin from having the stroke, like so going back in time with like some stroke, anti-stroke, whatever, like causes stroke, like to like stop that. So, but I do ponder on whether or not killing Trotsky early on is would have like made a difference. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's hard because the more you know, it's like even for me, even criticizing Khrushchev is kind of hard because I kind of know where he was, like what he was facing. I mean, he tried. In the end, he did send in the tanks. So it's like I said ice pick Trotsky earlier. Yeah. Okay. Let me finish this section and we'll pick up after the second Congress next week. I think I read a lot, but we'll see. The struggle during the elections was very sharp. One of the two scenes before voting started are still fresh in my memory. Axelrod accused Baumann, Sorokin, of an alleged lack of moral sense and brought up some gossip about an incident that's supposed to have taken place in Siberian exile. Baumann said nothing, but there were tears in his eyes. Another scene, Deutsch was angrily telling Glebov, Noskov, who looked up with flashing eyes and said, annoyance, "I'd keep my mouth shut if I were you, old boy." The Congress ended with Glebov, Clare, Kurtz were elected to the Central Committee, 20 out of the 40 votes being abstentions. Plekhanov, Lenin, and Martov were elected to the Central Organ. Martov refused to work on the editorial board. The split was obvious. Okay. Libertarians are just always wrong. Just don't even waste your time. Just come to me and I'll tell you where they're wrong. You don't have to pour over PDFs. You just don't like cotton? Who's cotton? Oh, Trotsky's, yeah. One of my friends from high school, like he was a trot back then, and I thought he'd grow out of it. So I made a little joke about like, oh, you should come on late nights at Lennon, and I'll try to not I said something about even if you're a bleeping trot, and he took really big offenses. I don't think Stalin commented about libertarians because libertarians didn't really exist. Libertarianism is just like fascism without like saying, without being sounding like a Dalek where they're like, exterminate, exterminate, exterminate. Okay, so I guess check out our latest episode about COINTELPRO and what the FBI does. We have some good articles coming out. Okay, link me to the piece if Stellan really did that. Sorry, I'm like I said, I'm still I just assume, yeah. Okay, but oh yeah, there's not. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, Matt, our our writer sometimes, and sometimes our guests, I guess our like I don't know what to say, affiliated with the show. He works here, I guess. He's one of our writers. He got really animated with this dumb Jacobin piece about the U.S. should follow Germany's example on dealing with its horrific past. And yeah, because Germany didn't like the U.S. occupied part didn't really do much of a dealing with its horrific past, since they actually had more Nazis in the government than under Hitler. Like it was really annoying. So we have a piece coming about that, and we may have another piece coming later this week. And our next week's episode should be exciting. It's going to be about, I think, Canada. And with that, I will say, Slobodú národu smrti fašizmu. Bye-bye.